Greetings from Costa Rica, folks. The Playa Langosta real estate market has to be one of the dozen most active markets in the country. It's Tamarindo's appendix to a certain degree, really just kind of a residential luxury extension onto Tamarindo itself, which is one of Costa Rica's biggest tourism hubs. Today, I'm going to cover the Playa Langosta Costa Rica real estate market. My name is Matt Rosenstiel. I'm owner-broker of Coldwell Banker Pacific Realty, aka Costa Rica Matt. And every week, I'll be bringing a market report on a different coastal community, or even sometimes specific gated community projects in Guanacaste. And one of the key things I want to accomplish is to empower anyone considering investing in Costa Rica's real estate with real information. You hear frequently that there are no comps available in Costa Rica. Well, that's absolutely false. You can find the data, we find it, compile it, and today I'll be putting together some information for you to understand the Langosta real estate market and how it's evolved over time. As always with our market reports, we'll do this in a community overview. We'll talk about the key real estate. We'll talk about comp data, rental potential, and finally, we will draw our conclusions about Langosta. Thanks for joining us and stay tuned. All right, folks, welcome to this Playa Langosta real estate report. Let's get started with our community overview. And as I mentioned in the beginning, Langosta is essentially an appendix to Tamarindo, an extension to the community, where if you're in the center of Tamarindo and you take one particular road down to Langosta, you get into the community directly from Tamarindo. Just like Tamarindo, it saw an explosion of speculative development in 2000 until 2009. The real estate market was dealt a devastating blow in the 2009 and 2010 crash, and since things have been recovering greatly. Langosta has a very key difference to Tamarindo, and that's the difference in the surf. Tamarindo has an incredible learner's wave, a place where anybody from around the world can come and take a few lessons, and really, even in your first surf lesson, you're standing up on the surfboard and you can enjoy the rest of your vacation. As a result, Tamarindo has really evolved as a surf hub with all kinds of schools for people to come and visit, and it's evolved with the associated nightlife, partying, etc. that comes with surf. Langosta has a much more advanced wave. It actually attracts the real die-hard surfers who live in the area. You'd rarely see them go out to Tamarindo, but everybody in the community would go to the breaks at Langosta. And as a result, you haven't seen that explosion of surf schools in Langosta. To a certain degree, it's a luxury version, or rather a higher end neighborhood compared to Tamarindo. You would generally expect to see real estate priced higher, and especially when we're talking about the beachfront in Langosta, there's a very big difference with Tamarindo, where in Langosta, the primary beachfront along the best parts of the sand are million-dollar, or rather multi-million-dollar private homes, whereas in Playa Tamarindo, on the beach itself, you have a long line of fun bars and nightclubs. So Langosta, where you've got multi-million-dollar mansions on the beach in what's called, fittingly, Millionaire's Row, has a very quiet residential feeling versus Tamarindo, where you've got party central, happy hours, free cocktails, all kinds of stuff happening at those beachfront bars. For that reason, a lot of people tend to prefer living in Langosta with having the access to Tamarindo. And I want to take a quick moment and give you a slight virtual tour of one side of Langosta so that you get an idea where we're going. I'm going to play a little video where we were driving around one side of the community. Langosta has a circular road that goes to the end of the beach, or rather to the estuary, a river mouth, and then turns around, and in this clip, we drive along the ocean side of that loop. So as we start the video here, you'll see we're coming into Langosta and passing one of the three key hotels, which is the Capitan Suizo. The Capitan Suizo is beachfront and one of the larger businesses in the community. It's a historic sort of institution, and it's right on the point between Tamarindo and what is actually Playa Langosta. As we move along further in the community, we come to another key hotel, which would be on our right here as we go down the road, Cala Honda, another big key institutional hotel that makes up a big part of the community. On the left here, as we come into Langosta and move further in the community, you're going to see three very large towers. Two of those are the Peninsula 1 and 2 buildings, and the third one, a red building, is the Naxos building. Tamarindo and Langosta now have restrictions related to the Baulas Marine Park. Those restrictions mean that anywhere within a certain radius of the beach, you can no longer build over 3 stories. So those towers are unique in that they'll be the last buildings over 3 stories in Tamarindo or Langosta that are also close to the beach. Now here as we come down the road, on our right-hand side is Millionaires Row, where you have homes priced anywhere from $3.5 million up to your mind's imagination. Currently, the only listing in that row is a very discreet $6.5 million home that's for sale. On your left, as we drive down this main stretch in Langosta, you've got a series of quality condo projects, really sort of luxury, high-end condos that we'll be discussing in the comp data. And on your right, you actually have some of the older beachfront condo complexes. The older complexes include Horizontes del Mar, or Horizontes, if I want to try a little bit harder on my pronunciation. You've got Villas Langosta that we're passing now. And finally, Bahia Langosta, the third older sort of beachfront project. And as we reach the end of the road here in Langosta, we reach the Occidental Hotel, which is an all-inclusive resort and the third really major large hotel in the Langosta community. If we were to continue down this road, we would take a slow 180-degree turn around a bend and basically drive down a back road where the other side of Langosta is primarily residential, private homes, and rental properties. Let's move on to discuss some key real estate in Langosta, and we already sort of touched on two of the really important components of the community. One being Millionaires Row, that stretch of titled beachfront homes where currently the only one available is asking $6.5 million. In previous years, you would have seen listings in the $3 to $4 million range, but those have been snatched up as time goes on. You also have, in addition to the Peninsula and Naxos complex that I mentioned, you have a beachfront condo tower called the Crystal Sands building. Really, it's one of the only beachfront high-rises that you're going to see in our area, and absolutely there will never be anything built like it in the Baulas Marine Park again. If I'm not mistaken, Crystal Sands has 6 or 7 stories, and it's right on the water in Langosta. A really key development in the community is called Punta San Francisco, and I know I'm saying that with my Indiana accent. Thanks for the feedback if you'd like me to improve and speak with a more Spanish accent. Punta San Francisco has approximately 70 lots in it. It's a gated community right in the heart of Langosta. It would have been between Cala Honda and Capitan Suizo on that video I showed you. And among those 70 lots, you see probably it's almost completely built out with homes that would be priced in the $1 million to $3 million range for anything that's not on the beachfront. Punta San Francisco does have a section of beachfront homes where you can see prices, when they are on the market from 3 to 5 million. Obviously, it can go higher than that, but currently none of the Punta San Francisco beachfronts are listed. Let's move on to talk about the comps, the data we're able to pull from the National Registry. And obviously, this is a very tricky science given that the location of condos, especially vertically, can have a huge impact on price. People are going to pay a lot more for one of those third or fourth floor condos with some ocean view than they would for a condo on the second floor with no view. But if we start out by looking at the Naxos building, that big red one I mentioned at the beginning of our tour into Langosta, it's a condo building that's only a block and a half from the water itself, right there in the complex along with Peninsula 1 and 2. And what we could talk about a little bit is sort of what different condos have sold there over the years to give you an idea on pricing. And in 2016, for example, $304,000 would buy you a fifth-story condo with an ocean view. In 2020, those fifth-story condos could cost you as much as $430,000, or about over a 25% increase in those 4 years. As it just so happens, in 2020, I was lucky enough to help clients snag a deal there at $325,000 for a fifth-story condo, but that was actually well below sort of other prices that we saw for the building. In 2021, $300,000, you saw a closing on a second-level condo. That was a 2-bedroom. And now in 2022, you've seen 4 different closings, all of them right around $300,000, though. Now you're seeing people pay $315,000 for condos on the second level, or $395,000 for a fourth-story condo. The average price of the sales this year really is a significant upgrade from the years prior, and you see that really coming back every year, the same budget is going to buy you a condo on a lower level or a smaller unit. Another project that's interesting to look at, Playa Langosta, one of the older beachfront complexes down there near the Occidental Hotel. There, I was really proud to help clients snag a 2-bedroom second-level condo for $270,000 in 2021. So this was right before our international border closure in March that year. Second-level condo at $270,000. Later, now in 2022, a similar condo on the second level, 2-bedroom, sold at $370,000, or for those who have their calculators, $100,000 more than a similar condo had sold a year before. Now there are some relative disadvantages to the one that we got really cheap, but again, prices there have taken a significant step upwards to where the most recent closing was actually a first-level condo that closed at $400,000. That was a 3-bedroom, so there's obviously a bit more room, and it has its own relative advantages to those second-story condos. So now let's look at a couple projects where you have small numbers of condos that were exactly the same townhome lined up next to each other, where really the only differences at sale time are going to be the furnishings, finishings, and the location of the condo within the project. One interesting project is Villas Cerca del Mar, where I think they have a total of 10, maybe 12 condos, these townhomes lined up just one block or on the other side of the road from the beach in Langosta. And whereas in 2021 you had closing prices on 4 units that ranged from $465 up to $545, in 2022 we've had one closing so far at $535, And the listing, the currently available Villas Cerca del Mar, is listed at $785,000. That's over $200,000 above the most recent comp. And here's a phenomenon that I really want my watchers, everybody out there, to be aware of. You see people taking advantage of the current market in which there's simply scarcity of inventory. There are no other Villas Cerca del Mar on the market. Currently, there aren't that many of those luxury condos just across from the beach available. And so they've taken their price to a level that makes absolutely no sense compared to the relative comps, the recent sales that have actually happened. And this does happen in Costa Rica real estate. If you want to avoid that becoming an issue for you, be sure to send me an email to matt@cbpacificrealty.com. I always help my clients review this comp information so that we understand the values relative to a longer trajectory than just what's on the market right now. Again, the most recent closing for a Villas Cerca del Mar was $535 this year. The currently listed unit is at $785. I'm sure it has some wonderful upgrades and advantages to the other unit, but they can't be $250,000 worth of upgrades. Another project where you've seen this in Langosta is the Courtyard Villas. There are only 10 villas in the project. They're luxury. They feel very high-end, hardwood ceilings, all kinds of features that feel great. They're located right across the road from the beach, so direct access. And whereas you had closing prices in 2020 and 2021 of $425,000 to $520,000, again, that's in 20 and 21. As we move into 2022, the three most recent sales have happened at $677,000, $520,000, and in July, one of the Courtyard Villas sold for $775,000. That's $255,000 more than a Courtyard Villa sold in September of last year. That's less than a year. You've seen $255,000 of appreciation on a $750,000 condo, about 30%. That might happen some places like Toronto and Denver, but you don't typically see it here in Costa Rica. And really, it's an example where the people selling that property know that they have a unique product. There's not much else on the market. There's a buying frenzy going on. They put it out there at what would be an obscenely high asking price compared to the recent comps, and they can get that money because of the current market conditions. Now, just like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, some of those condos are now being priced at what people originally paid for them 15 years ago. So you are seeing some condo owners, their prices are obscene, but really they're just trying to recoup their initial investment. And Lord help them if they're trying to account for inflation. But you are seeing some of those people who have waited until this moment to now try to recoup their investment, but others are simply being opportunistic and putting their property out there for sale at a hot moment when there's very little comparable inventory, so that they can essentially demand their price and wait for a buyer to come along and pay what I would consider to be too much. Let's talk about the rental potential in Playa Langosta. Being an appendix to Tamarindo, you have extremely good rental potential in the area with a base occupancy rate of at least 60 to 70% if you have your prices set correctly, your marketing done well, and a great property management company working for you. These sorts of condos in Langosta, a lot of them are managed by big box companies that have a huge portfolio of properties. Those companies can do an excellent job with their administration and keeping things going. Frequently, you can see that they're very lackluster in upping that occupancy rate for people. A large complaint or a frequent complaint that I hear from owners of Langosta properties is that really their property manager isn't out there marketing and trying to book those rentals. And if you're working with one of those bigger companies, you can see that there's not much direct drive to try and promote your actual property. It'd be impossible to describe the rental rates in Playa Langosta, but overall you see that the renters there are both willing and able to pay higher price points than in Playa Tamarindo, and it naturally attracts a higher level of clientele because of the nature of the community. Let's draw some conclusions here about Playa Langosta. If you are somebody who wants access to one of Costa Rica's best nightlife scenes, if you want to be really close to an absolutely enormous party, but you don't necessarily want to live in that party, Langosta is an incredible option for people. I've taken a lot of clients there who really want to be quiet and have that peace that they expect in Costa Rica, but they sure as heck don't want to deal with the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. thumping music that comes from an area like Tamarindo. Langosta's primary drawback, honestly, is also that it's connected to Tamarindo, and that until you learn where the back road is and how to take it in and out of town, you're going to have to take Tamarindo's main road all the way through the community to get to Langosta, because it's surrounded by a mangrove and isolated on the other side. I see people who might be great candidates to live there who really can't, because mainly you have to drive through Tamarindo to get to Langosta. Like I said, folks, I'm going to be putting together market reports like this one every single week, so be sure to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to follow my channel. Next week, we're tackling Playa Avellanas, one to the south of Langosta. Thanks very much for joining me.